Does it feel like your money buys less every year, even though you're working just as hard? Groceries feel heavier, housing feels harder, planning ahead feels more uncertain than it used to. And if you ever caught yourself thinking, maybe I'm just bad at managing money, you got to stop right there. You're not imagining this. Most people are told that this feeling is just inflation. And usually it's explained as prices going up. And on the surface, it sounds reasonable. Things cost more, so life feels tighter. But what if that explanation really captured what you're experiencing? It would feel consistent and predictable, right? And you don't, because what you're feeling isn't just prices changing, it is something actually deeper. Inflation doesn't actually measure your life. And once you see what it really measures, a lot of things start to make sense. Here's what inflation really measures. When governments report inflation, they usually rely on something called Consumer Price Index, or for short, CPI. Now, you don't need to remember this name, by the way. All it means is this: they track prices of a pre-selected group of things that people assumed to buy regularly, like food, for example, or transportation, or clothing, and some services. Think of it as an average shopping basket. And that basket is decided ahead of time. And some items count more than others. And if something in the basket becomes too expensive, the calculation can assume people switch to a cheaper alternative. So inflation is not measuring what you're paying, it's measuring an average across millions of people. And you don't live as an average, right? This is the part that most people are never told. Inflation is a statistical average. It's not a personal experience. You live with your rent, your food, healthcare, education costs, and those things don't rise evenly. They rise where it hurts you the most. This is where inflation starts hiding things from you. One thing it often hides is asset inflation. Assets are things like houses, land, and investment. Housing prices, for example, often rise much faster than everyday items. But that pressure doesn't always show up clearly in inflation numbers. Inflation also hides unequal impact. If most of your income goes toward necessities like rent and food, inflation affects you much more than someone whose spending looks different. It hides regional reality. What inflation feels like where you live can be very different from what national averages suggest. And it hides something subtle but critical: the slow loss of value in your savings. Let's make this concrete. If your rent rises faster than your income, you feel poorer, even if the inflation is reported as low. If education and healthcare rise faster than wages, planning your future feels stressful, even when the economy is supposed to be doing fine. If your savings buy less each year, that loss doesn't arrive as a bill, but it still changes how you behave. Now, here's the shift that makes everything clearer. Prices don't rise randomly. They respond to the unit we use to measure them. Money is that measuring unit. So when the value of money changes, prices follow. And that's why it helps to stop thinking of inflation as the main problem. Inflation is the symptom. Currency devaluation is the cause. Now, currency devaluation simply means that each unit of money buys less over time, even if the number of your paycheck goes up. You don't need charts to understand this. If the measuring stick shrinks, everything measured with it looks bigger. And this is why inflation quietly changes how you live. You start feeling pressure to invest, even when you'd prefer safety. Saving starts to feel irresponsible, and long-term planning feels risky. You take on more risk than you want, not because you're reckless, but because standing still feels like falling behind. And that is not a flaw in you. That's a rational response to an unstable system. So when money no longer reliably stores value over time, something important breaks. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly. And that slow erosion forces you to adapt in ways you've never consciously agreed to. So let me leave you with the real question. If inflation hides the true loss of your purchasing power, and purchasing power just means what your money can actually buy, then the issue isn't just how fast prices are changing, but it's this: who is quietly paying the cost? Assalamu alaikum. If you're new here, my name is Parama, and alhamdulillah, I've been financially free for many years now. At this stage of my life, I'm more interested in helping others build prosperity as well, but inshallah, in a way that is halal and sustainable. Over time, I developed a step by step framework for halal prosperity so people can build a successful life in this world and, inshallah, aim for sadaqah jariyah, which is an ongoing deeds that continue to benefit others even after they're gone. I presented this framework at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. At its core, the framework is pretty simple, actually. First, learn how to protect your wealth, then grow it responsibly, and finally, distribute that wealth in ways that create lasting legacy and benefit. This channel is where I walk through that framework step by step. We start from the foundation of how money actually works, then move into protecting wealth first, then creating wealth responsibly, and eventually how that prosperity can support others, endure over time, and contribute to a life that balances din and dunya. If this way of thinking about money and prosperity resonates with you, you're in the right place.